Hey guys, welcome back to Painted Dragon Studios. In this video I'm painting Jeff the Shark. I've been having a lot of fun playing Marvel Rivals the last few days and I just decided, I want to paint Jeff. I've been having a lot of fun playing him. He's definitely the most broken character in the game. Super annoying to play against, but very fun to play as. So I decided I wanted to paint him. I wanted the background of this piece to be really bright and flashy, so I did this sort of gradient with the yellow to pink to blue to purple method. And I also knew I wanted to add bubbles into the scene, so I did this fun little perfect circle method where I just take a lid. I actually took 3 different lids of different sizes, put a little bit of white paint around the edges, and just kind of stamped them on wherever I knew I wanted to have bubbles later. I also sketched on my reference picture. Now for this one, I took a screenshot straight from in-game and I used that as my reference for this one. However you transfer your reference over to your painting is completely up to you. I like to use a projector, so I like to get just the general outline and then go in and refine it with a colored pencil. Colored pencil doesn't smudge like graphite does, so that's why I like to use just a very light gray colored pencil. And then that's when I decided to be done with the sketch and go in with paint. And for this one, I decided to do acrylic for the underpainting. I actually do most of the piece in acrylics and then I just spend the last hour with oils. But I started with the highlights just because that's what felt easiest to me in that moment. I like to add the whites first. It just kind of helps me be able to see the rest of the painting as a placeholder. And then I use this dark blue color to get all the darkest areas in. This is mostly Payne's gray and then a light blue mixed together, and then occasionally I threw some yellowish color in there just to give it kind of a green tinge to it. I realized I made the top a little bit too dark, so I went back over that a few times. I also used Naples yellow as this yellow part for the nose, and then using the blue Naples yellow and then some pink, I used that color for his belly and these kind of mid-tone areas. And using my reference, I just looked at where the basic shapes were, and I did this kind of cell shading method where you just kind of go in with the colors and block in those colors where you see them on the reference onto the canvas. And it worked really well. I had a lot of fun with this piece. It was a lot easier than I was expecting it to be. I haven't really done a lot of cartoony style very much. I mostly stick to, my landscapes or my realistic character portraits. But for this one, I really wanted to try to get this cartoony look while still having that 3-dimensional realism to it. I've actually found a way to get the files from in-game from Marvel Rivals. It's the 3D models, and then I can use those and put them in Blender and use those to pose and get references from. So I'm excited to paint more Marvel characters. I've always enjoyed Marvel stuff, and I don't know, this was just a lot of fun, and I really hope you guys like this one. I'd love to paint more stuff like this. It was just a lot more fun than I was expecting it to be. I've always been kind of hesitant to do anything cartoony or animation style of painting. I get a lot of requests to paint stuff all the time that I'm just never really been excited to paint, and so that's why I've probably been so hesitant to it. But now that I'm actually just really enjoying this game, I'm like, you know what, maybe I could paint a bit more cartoony stuff, but in this still fun 3-dimensional style. I don't know, it was just really enjoyable. At this point in the painting, I was feeling like it was a little bit flat, and so I decided to add a little bit more line work to the piece. I used that same dark blue color, but just didn't put as much blue in it. I kept it just as mostly a dark blue, and I added a lot more of those lines back in, and I felt like that really made the piece pop a bit more. I hadn't touched his collar yet, and as kind of one of his signature things, it's got his name on it, so I went in and I put in the letters and then started trying to make it look like a gold bronze color. I added a dark brown around these, the left and the right side, and then right in the middle I put a bright yellow, and that gives it the illusion of being metallic and kind of glinting off the sunlight with the gold texture. And that just about does it for the underpainting. So now we're switching to oils. I've got all the colors where they need to be. Now I just need to add, sharper details to them. So I went in with kind of a magenta. I believe I used quinacridone magenta and fluorescent pink for a lot of those bright pink areas. Sharpened up the bubbles, sharpened up his feet, his tongue, and then I used a bit of that on his collar as well, just getting it to the right tone value that I needed it to be. Then I went back to his skin tone. It needed a bit more blue-green to it, so I added yellow to a light blue color and just kind of went around the whole piece using as much paint as I was willing to. I've been trying to get myself to use more oil paint on my brush when I'm painting with oils. I just tend to paint very thin, and for this one I felt like I needed a lot more thicker paint than I usually do. And so I was just really loading up the brush as much as I could and then using a lot of Liquin Original. It's a good thinning medium. It makes your paint last a lot longer, and so that helped a lot to get the paint more, thick and just sliding around on the canvas a bit more. And I also used a lot of Liquin Original to get those eyes a lot darker. You can thin down the paint and it just sticks to the canvas a lot better. So for really bright brights and really dark darks, you can use that thinning medium to make it, pop a bit more. And for this last part of the piece, I just kind of went around and tried to get all those darkest darks and lightest highlights back in there. I also added some lines on it to give it kind of like a comic book vibe style to it, and I don't know, I think it looks pretty cool. I just really like how the cell shading kind of turned out. I didn't use cell shading for the whole thing. That's just where you block in like specific colors in specific areas to give it the illusion of three-dimensionality to it. But for the most part, I tried to stick to those big, thick brush strokes as much as I could. And yep, that just about does it. Here's the satisfying tape pull that we get with painting on mixed media paper. And yeah, I really hope you guys like this one.